Alright, hey guys, Jamie here, and today we're going to be making a name sign that's going to go on the wall, and I want to make this out of 1/4 inch MDF, and it's a baby's name. It's supposed to go above the crib, and so I want it nice and thin, I want it nice and light, so I figured 1/4 inch MDF would be pretty good. And so I know that I want it about 3 feet wide. I'm not exactly sure what the height is, so I want to make it a little bit bigger than I think it needs to be. And like I said, a 1/4 inch material. So I'm going to say OK. And so one of the first things you have to do when making a text, any text, is to pick the right font. And over here I have this app called Font Expert, which is something I bought a long time ago, and this is actually an older version. They've got an updated version, but what's nice about this is I've got 60-some thousand fonts, and so I can't obviously install all of those, and so I have a font folder where I keep all of my fonts. And what's nice about the Font Expert app is you can type in your text that you want, and it'll preview in that font as you scroll through them. So it's not like Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator or even Aspire, where you would have to pick the font first to see your text in the font. For instance, in Aspire, you can see, when I go to text, you can see A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but I want to see my text in this font. And so that's what I use this Font Expert for. So I will put in my sample text, and then I will scroll through all my fonts. Maybe I never make it through all the fonts. Sometimes I'll scroll down to the middle and scroll through the middle. Sometimes I scroll to the end. It's just because 62,000 fonts would take me a year to go through. But anyway, this is how I do it. I kind of get a preview, and then I can right-click, and I can install this font if I wanted to. And then when I jump back over to Aspire, all I have to do is close the text window, reopen the text window, and the font will be there, which is really nice, because like some other programs, you would have to close the app and reopen the app for it to grab the fonts. Aspire grabs the fonts when you click the text button. Okay. All right. So like I said, this one's, the baby's name is going to be Kimmy, and I've already picked this font, the Ancestry SF font. I like this font. I am going to make it bold. I think that, again, with 1/4 inch MDF, I'm going to need as much thickness as I can. And I'm also going to have to connect the K with the rest of the letters. All right, so you pick your font. I'm going to size it to about where I want it. And now I have to convert this to curves so that I can work on it. So you convert it to curves, and then they become just vectors. They're no longer a font. So if I actually go here and I try to go back into the font to change it, let's say I can't, starting a new font. So once you convert it to curves, you're done. You can't change the font anymore. But you have to convert it to curves to get rid of stuff like this, to connect these, clean these up. So you have to convert it to fonts for that. Now I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to leave the circles, the dots for the eyes, there or not, because it's going to be harder to put up on the wall. I may or may not cut these out and just keep them, and if she wants to double-sided sticky tape them to the wall, then that will be what she can do. All right, so let's start cleaning this up. First thing I'm going to do is go to the trim tool and just start trimming some of this stuff that's needs to be trimmed. All these things here need to be trimmed. Anywhere there is weird joins. Okay. Now another thing I can do is I could have, let me actually undo because I could pick this one and I could move it over to where it looks a little better before I trim it. See, now that actually looks a little better. And this will smooth out. I'm going to smooth this as my final function. I will smooth this curve out, and I'll show you how I do that. I have to connect this to this, and so for that I have to go into node editing mode. With node editing mode, you can either hit N on the keyboard, N, or you can hit this button here, and that'll give you the same thing. I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to grab these two, and I'm just going to move them in here. And again, I'm going to try to keep somewhat of a straight line. And then I'm going to move this a little bit. Move this, which is the curve. So I'm just going to try to make this look a little bit better. This guy a little bit. Again, I'm going to smooth the curve, so that's not a big deal. Hit N again to get out of node editing mode. Go back to my trim tool. Trim this guy off. Trim that guy off. Hit F to frame it. Close that here. All right, so now I should have all one vector, and I don't. I've got these separated. So I have to join these vectors. So I'm holding Shift and select all these different parts until I have them all selected. And then you can either hit J on the keyboard, which is join vectors, or you can hit this guy here, which is join with a straight line, join with a smooth curve, join close vectors by moving endpoints to a common point. And so I'm not sure which one, when you hit J, what that is. J is this one here, which is just join open vectors. So there's a couple options you have, and sometimes you have to find the one that works for you. And so you can see here I've got 4 open vectors. After joining, I will have 1 closed, which is exactly what I want. I want 1 closed vector. And so now when I pick it, they all select. All right, so then the next thing I do, because if you can see when you go to node editing mode, you've got all these points. Some are kind of weird. Some are kind of weirdly spaced. There's some where you don't need them. I will, let's see, where is that? This guy here, curve fit. And so what this will do is this will take the vector profile and smooth it out for you, and use whatever you, the fitting type. Like I like to use the Bezier curves because it gives you handles that you can adjust and smooth things out a lot easier than all these points. Like these 2 points together here, you'll see when I hit preview, these will go away, and there'll be like 1 dot in here where I can smooth that out if I want to a lot easier. You can also change the tolerance. If you change the tolerance a little bit, it will smooth out even more. You can keep sharp corners, which I actually don't really want to do. And then you replace selected vectors. Now, if you turn this off, you can kind of see the difference between, but then you have to go and turn around and delete the one you don't want. So with being able to Control Z and undo something, I don't ever do that. So let's preview. All right, so you can see now here there's 1 dot here instead of the 4 or 5 that were here. There's a few dots in the sharp corners, which is good. And then we just say OK. And so now we have, if I go into node editing mode, we have these handles that we can adjust. Like here where I want to smooth this guy out, I can just grab this handle and just smooth that out. And that's a lot easier than it would have been had I kept all those points. So here, this one needs to move in a little bit. Smooth this out a little bit. And here's still something I need to trim. Now again, this is going to be made out of MDF, and so some of these weird bits like here. It can't even get in here. The bit can't get in here. We've talked about this before. It's going to go up into here and come right back. So I'm not too worried about this. Just by nature of machining, this will never become an actual point like that. Same up here. It won't get in here at all. I could fix this by going in here and like deleting this point, right? Which makes that look better. But it never would have gotten in there anyway. I need to clean this up, so we're gonna trim that. Close. And see, this one would have turned out like this if I'd cleaned that up before I fit my vectors. So let's go into node editing mode. See how this one's pulled way out. Let's shrink this up a little bit here. This, make that a little bit smoother. This thing here we can fix just a little bit. So now we can go like this, make that look a little better. This thing here looks a little skinny. So like this, just move this out. Right, so edit your vectors, make them look good. Make sure it's all one piece. Now when you're done, like right now I'm in node editing mode. I know I'm in node editing mode because of the little asteroid looking cursor I have. So you can just change your selection mode by coming over here and hitting this, and now you're back into regular mode. Or again, you could hit N, and N will get you in and out. Oops, not M, N. N will get you in and out of that mode. All right, so that looks pretty good. I think that's fine. It's going to be on the wall, so it's not going to be sitting on a table or anything. And we can see that we're about 20 inches high, maybe, actually about 16 inches, maybe 16 inches high. So I could go in here and I could say, change the height to 16, no, not 16. Well, I could actually move it down. 16, we'll go 17, just to keep it. Okay, good. But I still want to, I always want to start in the lower left corner for me. And that way I could put a bigger piece of material in and I'm not wasting any if I start here in the lower left. I'm not sure whether these moved or not, but these don't really matter because they're not connected, so I could actually move these somewhere over here and let them get cut out separately. All right, so now we got to do the toolpaths. I like to pin out my toolpath window. I'm going to select everything and go into my profile toolpath. All right, so my start depth is 0. I want to start at the top, and I need to go 0.25. I will use a 1/8 inch end mill. So I'm going to use a little 1/8 inch end mill so I get some good detail in the corners. 60 is probably good for cutting MDF, but everything else is probably fine. I do want the outside. 2 passes is fine. I may, looking at this is going to be thin and floppy. So I may want to do 1 extra pass, take like a really thin first pass so that it makes a better edge too. So I'll bump that up to 3 because 3 is not bad. It's not going to take very long to cut this out, so I can survive another pass. Separate last pass, you could do this too. You know, like to get it mostly done and then take just a sliver off. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to probably use double-sided tape to hold this down underneath, so that I don't really need to use tabs. Because tabs, I'd have to have a tab here. I'd have to have a ton of tabs, and I hate cutting out the tabs. Because it's bad enough you already have to sand the whole thing, but now you have to sand the tab off. Some people like the tabs. I don't like the tabs. So I'll use double-sided tape. That should hold everything down, hopefully. And I I don't ramp or lead, or I don't mess with these generally unless I'm doing aluminum, and I don't have any 3D. So we're going to leave this at profile, and we'll calculate. And we'll preview. And like I said, you can double click on the waste and get rid of it. Okay, and so that's what it should look like once we're done. All right, our next step is to save this toolpath. So I'll go to the Save toolpath. First thing you have to do is double check your post-processor, unless you're always doing the same thing. Like I have laser jobs, I have cylindrical jobs, and so that's my first step is I have to check my post-processor. And I need just the regular Mach 2, Mach 3 arcs inch. And I'm going to save. We are going to put this in my workshop projects. We'll create a new folder. New, where's my new? Almost not clicked on. New folder. We'll call this Kimmy Wall Sign. Double click on that. Table surfacing. Oh, I must have clicked something in my other folder. So we'll call this Kimmy Profile. All right, so we close, save this entire job in case I have to come back, and we'll call this save. All right, so now next thing we have to do is put this on the memory stick, get this out to the machine, and we'll cut this out. All right, see you in a little bit. All right, so here we are at the machine. I'm going to put some double-sided tape on this and see if we can get this thing to stick to the table. I like to use quite a bit of tape. Try and make sure it stays down. Plus, I'm going to have like squirrely things and different stuff. So the more tape, the better. Actually, I don't think I'm going up this high, but make sure this is cleaned off. Alright, here's the moment of truth. This thing over. To keep it somewhat straight. Alright, so should be good. One of my bits here. pitch down a little bit more. That's okay. So I want to set that to -0.125. Wait, is this quarter inch? Quarter inch. Let's go -0.25. So that should be good. I'm going to have to use dust collection because this is MDF. So right. Alright, so here's my setup. My dust collection's on. Gotta turn my spindle on and load my program. So come over here. Put my spindle on and start our job.
Alright, so here we are on the last pass. And so it looks like it's made it all the way through, which is good. And the double-sided tape is holding pretty good. Alright, so it's done cutting out. Now it's doing the dots for the eyes. Not really much to see. Hopefully they're on a piece of tape. Alright, this is now all the way done. Turn off the spindle. And we can move the table out of the way. So I get both hands on this. Alright, so we're done cutting out, and I'm going to peel the board off of the double-sided tape, and I wanted to show you just how strong the double-sided tape is. Down there. Good. This thing wasn't going anywhere. I got all the tape off and I didn't break it. That's good. Sure, more residue on it. Let's see here. A little bit of sanding and we should be good. Alright, hopefully you can see that. Nice and clean. Coat of paint. And we're good. Alright, that's it for this one. I'm not gonna. Somebody else probably gonna paint it. So that's it. Thanks for watching.